Maid of Sker, the newest game by Welsh Interactive, stays true to their name and picks up a myth concerning the historical place of Scarehouse near Bridgend in Wales. Apparently, a young woman once committed suicide because her father locked her in the attic to prevent her from running off with her beau. The short, stealthy survival horror game picks that story and infuses a few more details, like a Welsh song with mysterious powers to affect people's minds, a trapped creature, and a cult full of blind dudes with weird masks. The gameplay is fairly enjoyable, with the player being able to walk, crouch, hold their breath to avoid being too noisy, use healing items, and even use a sound device to gain a few moments to escape a possibly sticky situation. Throughout the game, you also get to solve a few puzzles that are not too hard. Even I managed them fairly easily. You also get a map, which is pretty good if you're good at map reading, and helps you in case you're stuck. The one thing that might become increasingly frustrating at times is the fact that your protagonist moves quite slow, and so do the enemies, and yet you have to stealth, so you spend a lot of time just waiting for an enemy to pass by, which is kinda like the Gothic horror version of waiting for an old lady making a pick at the supermarket shelf so you can get your cup of soup. The enemy design is fine, but unfortunately doesn't offer much variation after the first reveal. Only changing body types and clothing, but not much when it comes to the actual creepiness. There are a few moments that could be counted as boss fights, and those are, from a noob's perspective, rather frustrating instead of interesting, but that just might be me not being used to these kind of fights. Although the game provides information and story-related hints throughout, the way it's being told reveals a little too much in the beginning and offers not enough new information by the end of it. You get your information through notes and through old-fashioned gramophones that have voice recordings from Elizabeth and her family, and that also act as saving points for you.
Mother! Darling! Can't you see I'm recording? What have I told you?
The story itself is quite interesting, but it's being told in ways that sometimes feel redundant, rather confirming quite obvious hints than adding much to what you learn in the earlier parts of the game. Given that there is an order in which you reach certain checkpoints, this could have easily been avoided by simply keeping certain plot points hidden until the later parts of the game. Maybe it's just me, but my theories at the beginning about major plot points were pretty much confirmed, and there weren't many amazing twists that made me go, "What?" The voice acting is solid, particularly of Simone Sommer-Yeats, voicing Elizabeth, who communicates with us mainly via conveniently placed telephones throughout the hotel.
Thomas! My Thomas! You do not know how wonderful it is to hear your voice.
I have to admit, though, I personally did not connect as much with Elizabeth herself as I probably should have. Since we're playing as Thomas, who wants to rescue the love of his life, there is not much that gives us reason why we love Elizabeth so much, with the exception of her dog, that is. However, as this is a Gothic horror story, this actually fits the genre, which usually has the kind of relationships that are based on one meeting and 3 letters to consider each other soulmates, so historically it checks out. All in all, Maid of Sker is an entertaining short horror game that has enough details, notes, and even one, admittedly rather useless, collectible to make for a fun enough experience that even might lend itself to a second playthrough. With the different difficulties, it might also be a challenge to seasoned players. I would think, though, that for trained horror gamers, however, Maid of Sker might not be the most exciting experience ever, since the story, gameplay, and overall look are not necessarily distinct enough to be really groundbreaking or incredibly rewarding when it comes to immersion or story, since nothing really adds anything new to the genre. This is more like a loving nod to Hammer horror and early survival games instead. So, if you like Gothic horror, Welsh music, cults, and holding your breath a lot, then this is the game for you. Oh, also, did I mention there is a dog you can pet?